Hello gentlemen and gentleladies, my name is Sir Stanger, and I am a mess today. I apologize. I have been frantically trying to get home after work because I found out about these balance changes. I haven't had a chance to really go over them and read them yet, and really think about them with too much depth, but now's the time. I want to put out a video right now because I want you guys to know exactly what I think of these proposed balance changes. Valve, if you're watching, this is what I think of your proposed balance changes. And yeah, no, definitely take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, all this is opinion. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. But let's dive right on into this. I want to get this video out for you guys so you guys can see what's going on. You guys will know what these changes are, whether or not they end up going through. It says right here at the beginning, says things to keep in mind. This is not a complete list of changes. Some items and classes are still being worked on and are not ready for review. We're going a little deeper on some classes this time, like Scouts, and not as deep as others, Demo Man. This is a work in progress, so this might change prior to release. So none of this is set in stone. These are all just suggestions right now, so it's definitely good to know. So don't go raging just yet, but definitely let me know what you think of the changes down in the comment section. I want to know, and let me know if you think maybe you could think of something better for one of these items. Definitely, I want to hear you guys' opinions on this. This whole thing, this is an opinion video. This is a community coming together, letting Valve know exactly what it is that we want. Okay, so Multiclass. First up, we have the the only thing. We have a Panic Attack. Definitely needs a balance change. This is one of our least used weapons. The main culprit seems to be queued/delayed fire aspect, which fights against the basic concept of the secondary slot on classes that use this weapon. Players generally expect a secondary that is immediately ready to fire, for the rare case where their main weapon isn't available. Removing the queued delayed fire concept basically invalidates the original design, so we've started over. Goal: make the weapon immediately usable, remove the large burst potential, generally hard to balance, and give the weapon a unique design space to occupy. 50% faster switch speed? Okay, yeah, I can get behind that. 50% more pellets, I can get behind that. 30% less damage might work. I don't know if that's going to affect the damage output of it too much with the more pellets and the less damage. We'll have to see how that ends up working out. If it actually ends up coming out as a balance change, I'm definitely going to want to see how that actually ends up working. Shot pattern grows with successive shots, e.g. while holding down the attack button, but resets after you stop firing to reload. Okay, I like this a lot. This is actually a really cool change. So from what it sounds like, it's going to be working a bit more like a minigun in that the longer that you hold down the fire button, the less accurate it's going to be. So I actually can get behind that. That's a really good change. Spy, Ambassador. Players that are headshot from across the map are expecting to see a sniper in their death cam, but they sometimes see, more often than we'd like, a spy with a revolver. Goal: reduce the effective combat range to something more reasonable and expected with the spy. Changes. First shots are no longer perfectly accurate. Bullet spread is instead reduced by 50%. This makes headshots less reliable at a long range, while still very viable at close and medium range. Okay, so I'm obviously a spy main. So I'm a spy main, in case for some reason you guys don't know that already, or maybe you're new to the channel. Welcome. It's nice to meet you. But I am a spy main, so these changes do affect me quite a bit. So anything that happens to the spy, I'm going to be very opinionated about. Now, with the Ambassador, I'm definitely going to be really biased about this one. I use the Ambassador quite frequently. To me, the Ambassador is balanced by the fact that it's a very skill-based weapon. So landing headshots from an incredible distance away usually only happens in one of three cases. Either one, the spy is just really good. The spy has been practicing with his ambi aim. He probably deserved that kill, and he landed that kill. So he probably deserved that shot. And it takes a lot of practice to get good from longer distances with the Ambassador, unless someone's standing still, in which case you can get headshot by anybody. Well, I guess a sniper or an Ambassador spy, but whatever, that's not what I mean. Hacker, or someone accidentally headshotting you, which doesn't really happen all that often, but it does happen. I mean, everyone gets, accidentally damaged from time to time. So in my personal opinion, I feel like the Ambassador is pretty fine where it is. I've never considered the Ambassador to be an overpowered weapon. I've always thought it to be relatively balanced. I don't think that it really needs any changes. Obviously, I'm a spy main, so this is something that I'm going to think. I think that the Ambassador doesn't need any sort of nerf to it. Especially because it's such a skill-based weapon. It challenges you to get better at the game, to improve your aim, so that way you can get better with this particular weapon, so that way you can perform overall better. It's a weapon that rewards you for playing the game more and practicing and improving, and I don't want that to be taken away. That would be awful, I guess. I don't know. To me, the Ambassador is fine as is. So I would like to see the Ambassador stay the same. Because I actually like the fact that it also decreases in accuracy with every shot. The first shot, though, being perfectly accurate was essential to that formula. So I really hope they do end up keeping that, because I want that first shot to be accurate. Otherwise, that adds a random factor to a skill-based weapon. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't particularly like this change. Obviously, it's not a change yet. It's just a suggestion, but I don't particularly like this one. But we'll move on to the next one. Dead Ringer. Everyone's going to like this one, I'm sure. I'm sure they're probably going to nerf it or something. Feign Death is an interesting effect, but a good spy can use it extremely frequently, making it frustrating to play against and reducing the risk of using it nearly constantly. Goal: rather than making it less interesting, let's make it more predictable to fight against by removing methods by which spy can reduce its cooldown. This is what I need. This is what this weapon needed really badly. This should create more of a rhythm to fighting against a spy using this, and introduce a little more risk to the player using it. Changes: ammo kits and dispensers no longer refill the spy's cloak meter. This is exactly what the Dead Ringer needed. The Dead Ringer wasn't a problem because the spy couldn't die. It was a problem because the spy could use it so often. He could just reset the timer on it, and he could go out and just be absolutely reckless. On maps with tons of ammo packs, this was a huge problem. And you'd see, you know, spies constantly just go, like, pick up a large ammo pack and immediately have their Dead Ringer ready. So this is a good change. I like this change. The Dead Ringer needed something to kind of make it a little bit more fun to fight against. Not fun so much, but not as unfair feeling. And so when you trigger a Dead Ringer spy, even if you didn't kill them, you definitely sent them away for a good period of time. They can't really do anything unless they try and go in for like a risky stab or something like that. They're going to have to plan a lot more. This is going to make the weapon a bit more strategic, and I like that a lot. I think the Dead Ringer is going to be a bit less viable in some situations, which I think is a good thing, because there's 2 other watches for a multitude of scenarios that you should be using and switching between. But yeah, no, I like this change. The Dead Ringer change, that's a good one. Good one, Valve. You did good. I want to see that one go to the final game. I'm hoping to see that one go through. Your Eternal Reward. Oh god, this is my favorite knife. This is my favorite knife for many reasons, but we'll get into that in a minute. We'll see what they changed first. This is the least used spy knife. Technically, the reskin is, but okay. So the Wonga Prick is the least used knife, which is not really any surprise there. While Silent Kill and Rapid Disguise on Kill are good, the downside to this knife is extreme. Changes: removed Cannot Disguise penalty. Added non-kill disguises require and consume a full cloak meter. Backstab-based disguises are free. Increased cloak drain rate by 50%. Okay, so I really don't like this change. And I'll tell you why. So the Your Eternal Reward is my favorite knife because, in my opinion, it's one of the knives that takes the most skill to kind of really utilize. And this is really just kind of like a way of saying some people were not good enough or couldn't realize that they could just backstab the Gibbous sniper in the back of the team. So we're going to increase cloak drain on people who actually knew how to use this knife. So, I mean, like for me, for instance, I really liked using the knife and I used it a lot and I figured out how to use it in a bunch of different scenarios. But now, so I never really needed to have that first disguise. Like, I never really needed to disguise first to be able to backstab somebody. You can get behind people and get that first backstab with no disguise. It's really not that hard. I don't know why so many people struggle with it, but I'll be making a video on that at some point, I'm sure, about getting backstabs with no disguise. It's not hard, guys. It's just a practice thing. So for me, I don't need that disguise, so I'm not going to be disguising before I actually go for my first backstab. So removing my entire cloak meter, I'm not going to do that. That's not a worthy change for me. I wouldn't be disguising beforehand. I would just go for the backstab and get that free disguise with no cloak. But all this means for me now is that I'm going to be draining cloak at 50%. I'm going to be draining cloak 50% faster than I would normally, and that is really bad. I really don't like that at all. So for a spy who actually knows what he's doing, who can actually get that first backstab without needing a disguise, this is a direct downgrade now. This knife is now a direct downgrade from stock because it's just making disguise more of a hassle, and it makes it even worse. I've said for the longest time what I've always wanted to see for the Your Eternal Reward as a balance change. I would like to see it have give the user more quiet decloak. I feel like that would be a better balance change, and it would just make it so that maybe getting that first stab would be a bit easier for players who don't quite know what they're doing with the knife. I know some people wouldn't quite like to see that, but it's really just kind of a return to the old Saharan spy set bonus. I know that some people really didn't like that one. And I think maybe it was a bit extreme even, maybe it was a little bit too quiet, but I think that if we were to reduce the decloak sound a bit, that would make things a lot easier for your Return of Reward spies. I would like to see that change instead. I personally feel like that would be a better change. The whole point of the Your Return of Reward knife was to try and get that first kill without a disguise. If you take that away, you're just making it a worse knife. Like, overall, I dislike this. I heavily dislike this change. I'm really hoping this one doesn't see its way all the way into the game. If anything, leave it as it is. If this is the change it's going to see, I'd rather just see it stay as is. No buff at all. Because this would make it just much, much worse, and I'd be losing... I wouldn't want to use this knife anymore, because I'd be losing cloak 50% faster for basically the same thing. I would not disguise beforehand and waste a full cloak meter. That's awful. No, that's bad. This is not going to make the knife any more used. I don't think that's going to keep it from being the least used spy knife. I think if you reduce the cloak sound, more people would use it, because it would be a little bit harder to detect, and you could actually use it on players who are a little bit better and, you know, maybe have their volume turned up wearing headphones, and you'd be able to use it in those situations a bit more. This is not going to make that knife any more used. I'm sorry, spy is my main. I'm going to be belting on about these ones a bit more, so these are important changes to me. So the Your Return of Reward, I do not care for. So let's go ahead and just go over spy real quick. Ambassador change, I'm not really a fan of. I think it should just stay the same. Dead Ringer change, yes. Dead Ringer, this is exactly what the Dead Ringer needs. I totally agree. The Your Return of Reward, I heavily dislike it. Definitely my least favorite change of the spy changes so far, hands down. Alright, moving on over to Scout, we got the Sandman. The feedback on this weapon has been fairly consistent for a while. Players really hate losing the ability to fight back. Compounding this, the ball has to travel really far in order to disarm players. Being hit from a long-range ball more often than not ends up feeling random rather than skilled. Changes, long-range ball impacts no longer remove the victim's ability to fire their weapon, but the victim is still slowed. We've updated achievements that we're looking for disarmed players. Max range balls now do 50% increased damage from a base of 15. The flight time required to trigger the max effect has been reduced by 20%. Ball regeneration time has been reduced to 10 seconds from 15. Okay, so this change is okay, I guess. I don't know. For me, the Sandman was always kind of my way to direct counter a really good heavy. So if there was a really good heavy on the other team, I would use it to kind of disarm him for a second, so I could maybe try and deal with him, especially if he's being pocketed. You know what I'm talking about. Those Australian, heavies with the crazy, like, stacked unusuals that just never died and went on, like, 45 kill streaks on a pub server. Those are the guys I'm talking about. In order to fight those guys, they'd always have, like, 10 medics up their ass. In order to fight them, I would always hit them with a Sandman to kind of just disarm them for a second and maybe try and take them out, or a medic or something like that. But I could see this maybe working. This might be a good change. I don't know. I don't really use the Sandman enough to know. So if you use the Sandman, definitely, let me know if you think this is going to be a good change or a fair change. I know that being hit by a ball is not the most fun thing, but it doesn't really happen to me all that often. I guess I just don't see the weapon often enough to really think that it needs a stat change, just because I don't really see it very often. But maybe that's why they're trying to change it, because they want to see it in-game more often. For all I know, that's probably what they're going for. Let's see. Bonk Atomic Punch. This weapon was designed to allow scouts to pierce hotly contested areas. While it does this quite well, it doesn't require enough skill or carry much of a downside. I find it funny that they're talking about this doesn't require enough skill, but they're also taking the Ambassador, a skill-based weapon, and making it more random so that your skill doesn't matter as much. Besides, I'm sorry, I'm salty. Besides the point. Let's see. Changes. Allow a slow effect to the player after phasing wears off, based on the amount of damage they absorb. From minus 25% at low damage to minus 65% at 200 plus damage, lasts for 5 seconds. See, I don't know if that's going to be a good change. Me in particular, I always use it to get through areas that had a bunch of different sentry nests in them to try and start flanking. Depending on the situation, the area immediately behind where all the sentry guns is might be where you need to be shooting your gun the most and to be the most mobile. So I always use it just to punch through that area. So it was always just to get through the sentry gun area and then start attacking the team. If this changes. I might not have any use for the Bonk Atomic Punch at all, just because I don't really think I could use it to get through a sentry net. I'm going to be definitely taking more than 200 plus damage, so I'm going to have 65% reduced damage. That's going to be super slow. It's going to be really hard to fight people behind enemy lines. I don't particularly care for this change. I don't really think the Bonk really needs much of a change. Maybe reduce its effect, you know, that its time that it actually lasts. The effect of being like invincible actually lasts, but I don't really see a need for this change, but, you know, maybe some people do. Let me know down in the comment section. Again, I want to know everyone's opinion on this. This is going to be a little debate section going down in the comment section. I want to know what everybody thinks. Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol. This weapon is one of the lower owner-equipped items in the game. Looking at the current design, it seems like it's not taking falling damage ranks pretty low on the value scale for a scout, and a flat plus 20% damage taken penalty is basically the kiss of death for a low health class. This is true. Make the weapon less a liability and focus on the get health quick tool with decent burst at the expense for total damage. Okay, so new design. Plus 15% firing speed up to plus 7% or plus 7 health per hit from 5. Minus 25% clip size, 9 shots. Okay, so they're keeping the no falling damage, which I kind of like. I think the scout should have some sort of weapon that does that for him. The firing speed and the health per hit, it might be better. I don't know. I'd really have to kind of see that in practice, maybe use it myself. These stats are kind of too soft of a change for me to say right off, you know, right offhand if it's going to be good or not. But it definitely might be. It definitely could be a really good change. I don't know. It doesn't really seem like enough to make it a really viable weapon, but it might be. We'll have to. Well, that's one we'll just have to see in action if that's how it actually ends up going. Not a very significant change, so I wouldn't mind seeing it in the game, but you know, we'll see how that goes. Criticola. The last change to this item added marked for death when the effect ended. This was okay because it forced scouts to get out after a little while, but it didn't add any risk in the moment. Add more decision/thought on when and where to activate and how to manage the risk-reward of the effect. Added. Each attack while active adds marked for death debuff for 5 seconds. Does not stack. Marked for death. Added. Oh, so removed mark for death when effect expires. Removed plus 25% move speed bonus. Removed plus 10% damage taken penalty. I'm not totally sure I understand the stat change to this one. So the effect adds mark for death debuff for 5 seconds. So you use it, you attack somebody, and for the next 5 seconds you're marked for death. And that resets every time you attack somebody. That's what it sounds like to me. So the longest you can stay marked for death is if you attack somebody every second that you have the critical out, right? I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure how this actually works. I'd have to see this in action. This might be a good change. It definitely would make it a very risk-reward pick to take. However, I don't know if that would make it a very viable weapon. I know a lot of people just dislike the mini crits on Scout, but I don't know. Scout's definitely getting a lot of changes. This time around. I think they know that the Scout has a lot of weapons that just aren't used or that are overused, and so I think that they are trying to change it. I am surprised by the lack of primary weapons on here, though. It doesn't look like the Babyface's Blaster didn't get a change. The Backscatter didn't get a change. This is surprising. This is surprising indeed, because I know that those weapons are not used very much. So it would definitely be interesting to see those stat changes. They did say that some weapons they had stat changes for, but they weren't ready. So this could be, they could be in the works, but maybe not. We'll see. I know that they said this is going to be a huge balance change to the game. So I would say it's likely that they're probably at least looking into those weapons. Alright, the Atomizer. Triple jump as a passive effect is just too strong. It makes combat against the Scout unpredictable because opponents didn't see the bat, and therefore have a hard time anticipating the Scout's capabilities until late in an encounter. It also makes the Scout very strong against explosive classes due to a combination of extreme mobility and high close-range damage. Goal: require the Scout to deploy the bat to take advantage of an extra jump, which is also a signal to other players that they can perform an extra jump and reduce the bat's negatives to compensate. Okay, so this is good. So what this means is that if a Scout has the Atomizer, he can't just jump 3 times and be hitting you with the scattergun all those times, which was definitely really frustrating when you couldn't really hit him because you couldn't predict where he was going to be in the air. So now he has to have his bat out. So the third jump is really going to be more of a mobility thing and a dodging thing rather than a direct offensive thing, which I can definitely get behind that. That sounds like a good change. Triple jump is now only possible while bat is deployed. I like that. Removed self-inflicted damage while triple jumping. Perfect. That's exactly what something like this would need. Removed attack speed penalty. Don't know why it was there in the first place. If you have this weapon and you're trying to kill somebody with it, you're having a really bad time. Like, I don't know why you'd be doing that, but whatever. I think there are strange versions of... No, wait, this weapon doesn't have a strange version, right? There's, like, no reason to go for it. You can't even, like, memeingly kill somebody and make it worth it with that. Whatever. We're here for the jumping. That's what we're here for. Added melee attacks done while airborne mini crit. That's an interesting change. I can get behind. Okay, so there actually is a little bit of combat involved with this. That would be really interesting to see. That would be really funny to see in action, like a bunch of mini crit bat kills happening in midair. That would be, yeah. No, I like that. That's an interesting change, and I definitely want to see that in action. I think that could be really funny. Added 50% deploy time penalty to prevent quick switch bypass. Okay, so you have to have it out preemptively then. So you can't. So it's a switch to weapon speed debuff. So if you switch to the bat, it's going to take a little bit longer, and not from the bat. Okay, I guess that's fair. Reduce damage penalty versus players from -15 to -15 from -20. Okay, so it does a little more damage, which it already kind of did with the mini crits, but I can kind of see what they're getting at. Okay, I'm behind this change. I could definitely see this being a beneficial change for the atomizer. I want to see how this works out in game. All of these I would want to see some sort of example of in game, which obviously we can't because this is the first time that we're actually getting these kind of balance changes before a patch comes out. Which, by the way, I just want to say, regardless of all these changes, whether or not I like them or not, Valve is doing an excellent thing here by releasing these ahead of time. This is what we've been asking for the longest time. If anyone at Valve is watching this, thank you so much. This is perfect. This is exactly what we want. We might not agree with all these changes. We might be, really heavily criticizing you for all these changes. Try and ignore just the direct hate speech because that's definitely not the entire community. Overall, I'm just grateful we're taking a look at this ahead of time so we can give you some feedback on these changes because this is really important to us. Obviously, all these are going to be affecting the way that we play the game for potentially the next year, where we, might get another big update to potentially fix some of these balance changes. So it's really important to us that we maybe get a chance to look at these ahead of time. So the fact that you've released these ahead of time, I really appreciate that. Alright, Flying Guillotine. This weapon is capable of high burst damage under what sometimes seems like random conditions, such as mini crits at long range, and full crits when the target is slowed or stunned by anything. Remove the feeling of randomness and reward accuracy. Okay, that's cool. I can get behind that. Crit versus stun players is removed. Mini crits at long range is removed. I actually didn't even know that was a stat. I haven't really looked at the Guillotine very closely. I did not know you got mini crits if you hit at a long range, which is actually kind of a cool stat. I'm going to miss it if this ends up going through because I actually didn't know that was a thing. But I can see why they're removing it. It definitely was a random factor because how long is long range? Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Added long range hits reduce recharge by 1.5 seconds. Distance considered long range reduced by half of the previous value when determining mini crits. Okay, so it's still a little random. The amounts that you have to recharge to get the Guillotine back, which was already pretty fast. It has been reduced if you hit it from a long range. Yeah, I guess. I'm gonna miss the crit cleaver combo with the Sandman. That would definitely. I'm gonna miss that because that was a really fun loadout to run. But I don't know. I didn't see the Guillotine often enough to really care too much about its stats being changed. So this is fine. Yeah, sure. I'll take it. Soldier, base jumper. Players often complain that the base jumper is frustrating to fight against because the target is simply too hard to hit. This is mostly due to the combination of being able to deploy and retract at will, and the amount of steering control they have, which makes them too unpredictable. Changes. Reduce the amount of air control while deployed by 50%. Remove the ability to redeploy the parachute once retracted until the player hits the ground again. Okay, so I sort of disagree with this change, and I'll tell you why. I never really found the base jumper soldiers all that hard to hit. They actually were relatively easy to hit. in my opinion, obviously some people were having trouble with it. So this isn't about me. This is about everyone else. So obviously people were having trouble hitting base jumping soldiers. I feel like the reduced air control is enough. I feel like the redeploy, I don't think that was needed. I feel like that is kind of irrelevant, but maybe, obviously other people didn't think so. I don't know. The reduced air control while deployed by 50%, I can get behind that change. To me, that makes sense. It's a parachute, so it should have pretty limited control anyway, just like being realistic here. Not like TF2 is a realistic game, but just like realistically, there's like very little control of parachutes that have. But the redeploy parachute, I don't know. I guess, well, here I am talking about, you know, being realistic. A parachute only gets deployed once. But yeah, no, I don't know if that change was needed, but at the same time, I don't really use the base jumper hardly at all. I really only use it for the airstrike, but I don't really use the airstrike that often either. So I don't much care for this change. And by that I mean I don't care if it changes to this too much. I just don't know if the redeploy thing is needed. But you know, whatever. Man treads, the second least used item in the game. The aerial stomp minigame is difficult, and the gunboats are superior in most scenarios. Changes, plus 75% push force reduction, now includes air blast. Okay, that's good. Added plus 200% air control while blast jumping. Wow, okay, so that's going to completely change the rocket jumping game. Like 100% change the rocket jumping game. So this is going to be... I feel like if it reduced the damage taken by rockets by even a little bit, not as much as the gunboats do, but maybe just a little bit, this would be a really interesting change, because it goes from being, so we'd have the gunboats, which are really kind of like a distance rocket jumping, you know, choice. So if you pick that for your second, the gunboats, you're going to be doing a lot of rocket jumping very frequently. If you're doing if you have the man treads equipped, though, and it does the reduced damage, then you're looking to maybe do like one really well-controlled explosive bomb. Like you're really doing a lot of damage, and you don't want to get interrupted during that, so the push force reduction, including air blast, that makes a lot of sense. So the man treads would be a bit more of like a suicide explosion, you know, bomb-in tactic weapon, and that would make a lot of sense. I feel like that would be a really good kind of use for it. While keeping the gunboats to their kind of use. But I do feel like maybe adding a little bit of self-damage reduction for the explosive jumping, I feel like that would be ideal. I think that would make a lot of sense. Sniper. All right. I'm pretty excited for these changes. I really want to see what these are, because I see Darwin's Danger Shield and Razorback on here. Definitely two weapons that I think need a little bit of attention. So I'm excited. Snipers, Darwin's Danger Shield. Snipers using this item had an advantage against snipers who weren't. As a result, players felt like they were required to equip this item in order to be competitive. This is very true. A sniper using the Darwin's Danger Shield, assuming he was a half-decent sniper, was basically invincible to other snipers unless they were also using it, which is that's unacceptable. Like that really shouldn't be allowed. Yeah, no, especially if they were a good sniper. If they were a bad sniper, it didn't matter. You could headshot them twice as another sniper, and it didn't matter. They couldn't hit you. But a good sniper wearing this was really hard to kill. Goal, remove the increased survivability against enemy snipers, which invalidates the existing design. Very true. New design, counter ranged burn attacks, flares, and strengthen melee fights versus pyros, afterburn immunity, and fire resist. That is really cool. Okay, so I actually really like that change. So assuming they're just completely removing the old stats, because that's what it sounds like they're doing, adding the afterburn immunity and the fire resist, that's a really cool change, because snipers would sometimes have that difficulty of like a pyro just constantly shooting flares down a choke point or down like a really long hallway, and if you got lit on fire as a sniper, you're taken out of commission for several seconds while you have to run and, you know, find a health pack or a medic or a dispenser to help get you back into the fight, because aiming while you're on fire is really hard. It's not impossible, but it's really hard. So this is going to make a really strong hold at a choke point a little bit easier against those kind of pyros. And just fighting Pyros in general, because Pyro was definitely a halfway decent counter to Sniper. I really like this change. This is this gives the Sniper a counter to something that he was actually needing a counter for, not other snipers. Other snipers should always counter another sniper. I don't think there should be anything that helps you against another sniper, because it's simply down to skill at that point. The better sniper wins. But when it comes to this, this is something that the sniper could actually use some help against. So if you're picking this weapon, it's because you've probably already been harassed by a Pyro during that round, and I think that's a smart choice. I really like this change. Razorback. Goal, reduce the effectiveness of pocketed snipers in stalemates and standoff. This primarily happens in organized and competitive play. This is very true. Added a minus 100% overheal penalty. Shield regenerates after 30 seconds. So I've actually been... Okay, so I'm a spy main. I've been wanting the Razorback to have a regeneration like timer for a long time. I think the fact that you have to run back to spawn to get it, to get another one, was really stupid. So I definitely don't agree with that. What I do like about this, so the overheal penalty is awesome. So that means that if you have a Razorback on, another sniper can still kill you in one shot. They don't need to charge it. They can quickscope headshot you instantly, and that's great. So I definitely like that change. If you want to counter spies, then you have to still, you can't get overhealed by a medic to also counter other snipers. That's not allowed. So you can only counter one of the two at the time. I like that change. This also makes, using the Ambassador against someone who has the Razorback a little bit more viable. Shield regenerates after 30 seconds. I like this change. I don't like having to run back to spawn as Sniper to get another Razorback. If there's a lot of spies on the enemy team, I feel like I should have something that's a bit more reliable. I do hope that there's like a warning on the back, like maybe the shield like has like a 1 second animation where it like kind of like comes back and it's not like fully in place until it's done with that animation. So that way the spy isn't going for the backstab and it just doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. Like there's just suddenly Razorback and then you just fucked yourself because you backstab somebody who didn't have a Razorback and then suddenly had a Razorback, and that would be humiliating and completely out of your control. So I do hope they add like a little particle effect or something to show that a Razorback is about to be there, because that would be really frustrating to fight against if they didn't. But I do like the fact that it regenerates, so I can definitely get behind this. Sniper changes, A+. A+. I like the sniper changes all around. I definitely think this should be added into the game. I totally agree. All right, Medic. This should be interesting. Vitasaw. We're changing the Vitasaw now. I was not expecting that. Uber charge on death is too valuable of an effect to be passive. I disagree. I never used it. Ever. But whatever. That's fine. Change the weapon in a way that requires skill and risk in order to gain its effect. Added organs collecting concept. It's a new concept. Hit someone with a saw, out pops a vital organ, which you then take and hold. That's a really cool idea. The stealing organs. I like that idea. Let's see. Each hit with a Vitasaw harvest the victim's organs shown on the HUD. Added. On death, preserve 15% uber charge per organ harvested. This effect caps at 60%. It just kind of sounds like a shittier uber saw, doesn't it? So you're attacking people at a risk of dying so that you have more uber when you die. And that's only if you already had that uber charge. So let's assume you had 100% uber charge. You go in and attack. You have to attack people 6 times, and then you die, and you only get 60% of that back. Which you probably wouldn't have died if you'd have gone out and when you're running out and attacking people with your melee weapon as medic. I don't like the Vitasaw as it is right now, but I don't particularly think this is a great change either. I don't think this is the answer. I like the collecting organs concept. I really do like this idea of like harvesting organs. Maybe if it like increased the max health of the medic, with each organ that you harvested up to a certain point, that would make some sense. Medic's known to, steal souls from his teammates and stuff like that to like make himself stronger. So that makes sense to me. Maybe giving him an increased overall health pool to kind of pull from. So that risk of going in and attacking somebody really does help you overall. But I don't I don't think this is the answer, because in my opinion, this is still not as good as the Uber Saw. The Uber Saw is still just better than the Vita Saw at this point, even after this change. So I don't think this is going to be the answer, personally. But the organs collecting concept, I do hope they can take that and move that in another direction, because that is a really cool concept. And if they add an actual animation or something that shows him, like, when he stabs, there's like an organ, like popped on the end of the Vita Saw, like a heart or a liver or something, that would be awesome. I think that would be really cool to, like, have on your screen as just like a bunch of, like, organs on there. But we'll see. You know, I don't actually know how that's gonna go. Crusader's crossbow. Okay, it's a really strong weapon, so we'll see how this goes. Bolt healing is very high and significantly out-heals the medigun when the target is in combat. This might be okay given the trade-offs, risk versus reward, of the range shots hitting the opportunity cost, no overheal. However, it's also the fastest way to build Ubercharge under the right conditions. Okay. Ubercharge gain rate reduced in the same way that the Mediguns is, based on... Okay, so they added crit heals. They added crit heals to the Crusader's crossbow. So you can't just... Well, kinda. No. So it's not really crit heals. So you heal just as fast, but you don't gain the same amount of Uber as you would if they've been out of combat for a second. I like this change. The Crusader's crossbow definitely needed some sort of nerf. This feels like it might not be quite enough. Like, it might not be quite enough of a nerf for people to stop using it. I think it's still going to be a really viable medic primary. But I like where this is going. I feel like this makes it a bit more fair, and you can expect Uber a little bit less often with a really good crossbow medic. So I can get behind that change. I agree with that change. I don't know if it's enough, but I think it's a good change overall. All right, here we go. Heavy. All miniguns. Changes. The 1 second damage and accuracy penalty now applies to the first second of spin-up time, whether or not the heavy is firing. Previously, the 1 second damage penalty would only be removed after 1 second of firing. Okay, accuracy and damage penalties now reset when the heavy spins down rather than the heavy stops firing. This means if you stay spun beyond 1 second and fire in bursts, damage and accuracy will remain at 100%. So this is rewarding heavies who are tactically spun up a little bit more often. I can get behind this. This would actually be a really cool change. I think it's going to help Heavy a lot. Heavy has some viability issues right now, where he, especially at lower ranks, is very, very viable, but at higher ranks, he's almost unusable. The thing is that he's so good at close range, but is countered by so many things. Like, just being attacked from a distance basically destroys the Heavy. So if the Heavy can get this 100% accuracy by just, you know, being more picky with the way that he shoots and not just, like, going all out and just gunning everything down, which would still be a perfectly viable thing to do in close quarters, at a slightly longer distance, having that 100% accuracy and damage would be good. I like this change. This particular change I agree with. I think that's a good one. Gloves of running urgently. Speed, lack of, is used to balance the Heavy's high health, overheal, and damage output. While we still believe it's okay to have a class of items that increases Heavy's movement speed, players have been able to easily mitigate the existing negatives. Added max health is drained while item is active, -10 a second, and regenerated while holstered. Health will regenerate only the amount drained while active, minus any damage taken during the time. Each time the gloves are deployed, the drain rate is accelerated for a brief period of time. I don't really get that last stat. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe like so you deploy them, and it drains your health a certain amount, and then, but if you deploy them again during that life, it drains it a little bit faster first. I'm not totally sure how that one actually works. I would need to, like, see a video or work it out for myself how that actually works. Removed mark for death while active. Removed minus 25% damage penalty. I'm kind of lukewarm on this change. I didn't really use the gloves of running urgently all that often, mostly because I felt like I would get caught out with mini crits too often, and I catch many other heavies with their, you know, gloves out a little bit too frequently. I can see why they're making the change to make it so you have to kind of wait or think more strategically before you go into a fight if you've been using the gloves of running urgently. This one, I don't really have too strong of an opinion of, but I know it's going to be a big change. So I definitely, this is one I'm going to leave this one mostly to you guys, I think. Gloves are running urgently. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section, because I really don't know about this particular change. It sounds like it could be a good change, but at the same time, I'm not sure. Eviction Notice changes. Added max health is drained while item... Okay, so it has the same effect, but just -5. And remove the minus the 20% damage vulnerability. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. These two right here are going to be kind of a weird one for me. I don't know if I'm going to have too much of an opinion on them until I really get to use them. I think once I get a chance to actually see it in action, I'll have a bit more of an opinion of it. But we'll see. Does that mean you can kill yourself just by having these weapons out for too long, or is there like a cap? Like, is there like 100 health? Like you'll go down to like 100 health or like 150, and then it'll stop, or will it just keep going and kill you if you have it out for too long? Then I don't know that either. It doesn't say there's a cap, so I'm assuming you just die if you have them out for too long. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's see. Fist of Steel. The downside of increased melee damage doesn't ever really come into a play when it counts. And when medic is attached, the resulting pool of effective health is unreasonably large. Added 40% overheal reduction while active, 40% healing rate penalty while active. I guess that's an okay change. I don't feel too particularly strong on that one. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure. That works. Let's see. Engineer, Rescue Ranger. Okay, so the Rescue Ranger is a unique weapon in the fact that it's one of the few weapons that's an unlock in the game that I consider to be almost necessary to play a class. I know that a lot of people use the other shotguns and stuff like that for Engineer when, like, using a level 3 sentry. But if you're using a level 3 sentry, if you're really planning on like holding a point with a level 3 sentry gun, if you're not using a Rescue Ranger, you're pretty much just doing it wrong. And I don't really like that. I don't really like the fact that there's a weapon in the game that kind of you need in order to do a certain thing. And by that I mean like to do something that the class was already designed to do. Yeah, well, I guess we'll see what they do with it. The ability to repair buildings safely from range without using metal is powerful. Combine this with the ability to instantly teleport buildings from far away, which by itself is interesting and useful enough in many circumstances, and you end up with a package that is very strong. Let's see, ranged repairs now consume metal at a 4-to-1 health to metal ratio. Repairing 60 damage costs 15 metal. Okay, so... yeah, that's fine, I think. It definitely felt a little frustrating when dealing with an engineer, or multiple engineers who could constantly heal sentry guns with a Rescue Ranger without you being able to do too much. So making it so it takes from their ammo pool, their metal pool, I feel like that's fair, because it can become a bit more of an endurance game then, so you have to kind of balance between making sure that you're staying full up on metal, even though you have your Rescue Ranger out. Because the Rescue Ranger was kind of a cop-out for trying to manage your metal. It really just kind of became survive this onslaught, which was really easy with the Rescue Ranger. And then, you know, reload your Rescue Ranger when you weren't being attacked. So I agree with this change. This makes sense. And I definitely think that is a good change. I don't know if it's enough. It might be a little too much. We'll have to see. But I like the direction that it's going in, for sure. And it looks like that's it. So those are all of the suggested, again, suggested, emphasis on suggested changes for the next update for TF2. Definitely some winners, definitely some losers. I really hope the Your Return of Reward change doesn't go through. I really like the knife as it is, and it would really just kind of punish players for being able to get the first backstab with a disguise, with no disguise. So if you get the first backstab with no disguise, it really just punishes you because you're still getting you're getting 50% reduced, yeah, what was it? Increased cloak drain by 50%. Yeah, it just punishes you for using the knife, basically, which I do not agree with. So I definitely do not like the Your Return of Reward change. Probably my strongest one I do not want to happen. But a bunch of these are pretty good. Again, Ambassador didn't like Dead Ringer. needs to happen. This is a good change for the Dead Ringer. But overall, guys, that's just my opinion on these particular changes. Like I said, I'm expecting a well-organized and very polite debate in the comment section, guys. Let's keep this civil, guys. We can do this. I believe in us. Anyway, guys, yeah, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments section. I'm really interested to see what your guys' opinions are on this. Whether or not these make it into the game, I'm going to be keeping my eye on these particular stats, and I'll be doing a direct comparison when they come out. We'll see. We'll just have to see. We don't know when the Pyro update is going to be coming out, so it could be a long time. But this has got me excited. There's definitely some good changes here. So anyway, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I got a couple of donations since my last video, again, popping up on screen somewhere. And with that, let's keep the internet classy. I'll see you then. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello, my name is Sir Stanger. Hello,
can I have the attention of the internet?
My name
for 1 second.
My name is Sir Stanger.